there is a constant intersection between the physical world and the spiritual world. There is influence going both directions. Meaning what happens in the physical world influences the spiritual world, which then in turn influences the physical world again. When we see that progression and how it works, we start to say, okay, how can I influence the spiritual cause and source of this problem? When things are going wrong, if there's a spiritual motivation and influence there, how can I change that? And that's the right question. Everybody with me today? Jesus said in Matthew 16, he also used this language in Matthew 18, but in Matthew 16 in verse 19, he said, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Notice where the binding and where the loosening happens. It happens when someone on earth decides to bind. When someone on earth decides to loose. We do the binding and loosening. Another way we might say that is when someone in the physical world binds and loosens, then something in the spiritual world is bound or loosed. That then reciprocates and produces an effect or an experience on the earth. In other words, why are some people bound? It's because no one on earth has loosed them. Why are some bound with a problem, with a demonic influence, with something negative? Why are they bound? Because no one has loosed them. Someone say, well, it's because God hasn't. No, it's not because God hasn't. He transferred that ability and that right for us to do it. There is no doubt in my mind that some of us, we're going to slide in, arrive up in heaven one day, and there's going to be some questions. Lord, why didn't you do that? And he's going to turn right around and say, actually, I turned that over to you. I was just really wanting you to take care of that. Why didn't you loose me from this bondage? Why didn't you loose yourself from that bondage? That is how it works. It's like while some, in their lack of knowledge, it's totally understood, but while some who are uninformed sit around and say, why, God? Why are you doing this? Why are you letting this happen? Why is this going on? Others are saying, you know what? I'm not going to permit this to happen anymore. And they rise up and say, Satan, stop. I command you to take your hands off this situation and off this person in the name of Jesus. See how that's two totally different reactions to a negative situation? One is saying, why? Help. Why? I don't know what. And they might be sincere, but it's still a whole other person who recognizes that Jesus said, no, whatever you bind, whatever you loose, that's what's going to be bound and that's what's going to be loosed.